Okay, so today was my turn to give a 10-minute presentation to a group of business owners in the Colchester area at a networking meeting that I go to every other Tuesday. They call it 10-minute spotlight, and it's 10 minutes where the person delivering it gets to talk about their business in more detail. So as I say, today was my turn, and I've done this before, and it's been my turn for a while, and holidays and one thing when I've managed to duck it, because I'm not the greatest public speaker, and also what always plays in my mind is the industries that I'm involved in, mortgages, insurance, property and money lending, unless you've got an interest or a need in those areas at that precise point, and they're pretty boring, pretty dull. Not quite as bad perhaps as the accountant in the group. He has my sympathy, but still I wanted to do something that was, one, interactive to engage people and keep their attention, not make it feel like they had to endure a sermon on interest rates for 10 minutes, and two, hopefully give them something to take away, something that they can use in the future. So this is what I come up with. I asked for 2 volunteers, and I gave each of those volunteers a sheet of A4 paper. I asked them to put the biggest hole in that piece of paper as they could, under the proviso that the bigger the hole, the more money I could pass through that hole and give to them. I wasn't going to do this, but if they needed a reason, that was it. So put the biggest hole in this single sheet of A4 paper. So one of the guys that I gave it the paper to pretty quickly came up with this. He asked another member of the group to hold the paper up, and he poked a hole through it, and then proceeded to kind of tear around that as best he could to create a hole. And as you can see, not particularly neat. He's actually ripped through either sides of the paper, so I'm not going to get all pedantic, but you could say, no, you've got to try again, disqualify him. But there you go, that was his effort. Didn't take it very long, and you can kind of see the result. Not the biggest of holes, not the neatest. Another chap that I gave a sheet of paper to, I also gave a pair of scissors. And he had the same task, cutting the biggest hole he could, so he could really receive as large an amount of cash through that hole from me as possible. And this was his effort. Hope you can see that there. So it's a pretty good job, as you can see. That's pretty much as good as you're going to get without taking an awful long time over it. And that was using a pair of scissors, and it didn't take an awful lot longer than the guy that punched it and then started to tear around it. So as you can see, introducing a tool into the equation allowed them to do a much better job. Well, anyway, in true Blue Peter style, there was one that I prepared earlier. I didn't want people to sit down. I'm not a very crafty kind of person, so I didn't want people to sit there and endure me cutting a piece of paper. But anyway, when I showed them my efforts that I prepared earlier, and the whole reason why I was getting them to do this, kind of, it linked in nicely to that. So here's my effort. A little difficulty there getting it to remain open, because it's been folded now since I took it back, but you can see much bigger. In fact, the next best attempt you can easily fit inside. There. I used a pair of scissors and managed to complete that in not too long a period of time previously. But anyhow, the point I'm getting at here is what you can do with the right tools and the right knowledge. And also, what's worth pointing out is that the sheet of paper I used was half the size of a sheet of A4. So with less resources, you can get a better result as long as you have the right tools and you know how to use those tools effectively. So that was the point I really wanted to make and send people away, and how I got that to relate to my business, particularly mortgages perhaps, was all the mortgages are out there. Anyone can go and apply for any mortgage if you can find it. There are thousands of deals available, and it's not just as easy as picking the lowest rate. Now, if you're unlucky, and remember this took 2 people, this effort here. 2 people produced a not very good quality result. Somebody with the right tools, say the internet, a computer at home, managed to get a decent result. But having the right tools and having the right knowledge, can get you a much bigger result with less resources, less time, say in this instance, than perhaps you ever would have thought of. So that's what I kind of wanted to give to people to take away, was just the idea that in their fields, if they're experts in their fields, you know, they might feel that their job is easy, like we do sometimes, and that, you know, it's what we do every day. So to us, it's easy. But to people that haven't been doing it for years and years and years, it can be difficult, time consuming, and how do you know you're going to come out with the best result? So that's how I kind of linked it into what we do in mortgages, and hopefully that'll be of some use to you perhaps. I'm not suggesting you sit there with a piece of paper in front of your clients and that, say, right, let's see who can cut the biggest hole, and that's why you should use me. But I think you kind of get the idea, get the point I was making. Thank you very much to everyone on Facebook that helped to inspire this. So thanks very much.